Hi everyone, welcome back to our session. Just give me a minute, I'll be sharing my screen. So, could you please confirm over the chat window are you able to hear me and able to see my screen? Am I audible? Think I'm audible and my screen is visible to you. Okay, let's go ahead. So, in the last session, we have seen like how to work with an DOM, like which is we'll be making use of create elements, get elements by ID, get element by ID, get elements by tag name, get elements by class name and all. So today we'll see to understand about working with events and understand what is an event and how the event flow it will be uh, with the Devo with uh, within the script and how it will be taking a major role in while executing the document in the browser. So generally, when an event is an action, so just like that occurs in the web browser, which the web browser feedbacks to the user so that the user can respond to it. So just like whenever we have a button or some action to be performed, like if you click on something or if you're entering something, that has to be done with a action, right? So that action, when you want to make use of that action, so that action will be taking care with the events. So here, to understand the event better, the event is an action that occurs in the web browser, which the web browser feedbacks to the user so that the user can respond to that. So we'll be discussing about the event flow. So what is an event flow? The event flow in the JavaScript explains the order in which the events are received from the page, from the element where the event occurs, and propagated through the DOM tree. So this process is called event propagation. Event propagation is nothing but event flow. So which is like the process of doing the how the element is taking care of that event and how it is coming from the outer element to the inner element, and it will be like that. So most specific element to the least specific element, how it is taken care is the thing we need to have to understand over here. So there are two main event models, which is like event bubbling and event capturing. So event bubbling refers to the event starts with the most specific element and then flows upwards towards the least specific element. So for example, I have in the document is nothing but a doc type and a HTML. HTML will be having the body. In the body, I have a div, and inside the div, I have a button. So if I click on the button, it will go towards towards the most specific element, which is like events starts with the most specific element, which is the button, and it will flow upward towards the least specific element, which is the document. So it will go upwards. For example, if I click on the button, it will go to the div, and then it will report to the body, and then it will report to the HTML, and then the document. So which is like it is the process is called event bubbling. So it will raise up to the your least specific element, which is your document or a window or whatever it is. When it comes to the capturing, it comes to down. So which is like it will come down towards the most specific element. And if you can see here, document and HTML, body, div, and button. So for the understanding, I have made some numbers over here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is like in the event capturing model. An event starts at the least specific element and flows downwards towards the most specific element. So we will be defining that, this is the event flow, and event flow will be having two main models, event bubbling and event capturing. So event bubbling refers to it will start from the least specific element to the most specific element. Sorry, it will start with the most specific element, which is like this button is the most specific element, to the least specific element. But in the event capturing, it starts from the least specific element to the most specific element. And we have that DOM level to event flow, which it will be defined. The event flow has three phases. So which is like the first phase is the capturing, just we discussed as from document to HTML body due to button, and then it will come to the event target, whatever the button, it will be receiving the actual target of the button or the event, what it has to do, and then it will take care of the bubbling. So finally, event bubbling occurs, and it which allows a final response to the event. So this is nothing but DOM level to event flow, where it will be having three phases: event capturing, event target, and event bubbling. And event is also an object. So whenever we will be talking about the event, it will be having some properties and methods. So which is like when the event occurs, the browser passes an event object to the event handler. So whatever we do in the JavaScript, that is comes as an object, and event is also an object. And when the event occurs, the web browser passes an event object to the event handler. And if you can see here, there are some properties and methods. It will be like this. So I just okay, this was misaligned. Okay, I just try to align it properly. So this is what the left side ones are the properties are the methods, and right side ones are the description for those. Okay, so I'll just explain what are all this. Okay, now it is set. Now you can see here these are the properties and methods and description. This properties will be having the bubbles property. This bubbles property will be true if the event bubbles. Event bubbles mean bubbling means it is from the most specific element to the least specific element. It flows upwards towards that. So if you want to make use of that, you need to have enable the property, and the property will be boolean. So which is like if you can mention the true or false. So true to enable to bubble. So if the event bubbles, then it will be true. And there is a cancelable is there. Cancelable will be the true if the default behavior of the event can be cancelled. So default behavior of the button can be, it has to work on that event firing, or the default behavior of the form is to like it has to submit the form. So if you want to control that default behavior, if it is true it will be cancelled, and if it is false it will not be cancelled. So we need to have to control the default behavior of some elements inside our HTML, just like we have to control the form element action, right? Likewise, like we'll see how the form it will be, and what are all the things we need to have to take care of for the form. Okay, so and then the current target. Current target is the current element where in which we'll be taking care of the event, and in here we can see the current element of which the event is firing. And default prevented is the property. It will return the true if the prevent default method has been called. And prevent default is the method. If you can see, this is the method, and it cancels the default behavior of an event. And this method is only effectively if cancelable property is true. So this is linkable to here and also here. Okay. So that is what. If you want to cancel the default behavior of any events, we'll be making use of event dot prevent default kind of thing. Here it is prevent default is the method, it will cancel the default behavior of the event and detail the more information about the event if you want to get the information about the event what you are doing about it, so that detail it will be coming up. And there is an event phase property, it will give you one of the three phases whatever we have discussed just now, like first one is to capturing and two is the target and three is the bubbling. So if you are getting the any phase, it will be like whatever the phase the event is handling. And we have another method that is stop propagation. Propagation is like we have discussed it, right? So here, this is the propagation. Propagation is the event flow. It explains the order in which the events are received around the page from the event where the event occurs and propagated through the event tree. The process is called event propagation. If you want to stop that propagation, we need to have a stop propagation and it will cancel any further event capturing or bubbling, and this method can be called or can be used if the bubbles property is true. If the bubbles property is true, then only we can make use of the stop propagation method. And target is the whatever the element you are targeting to fire that event, that is what the target element of the event. And type, what type of event you are firing, like click event, mouse down, mouse up, key down, key up, mouse over, all these things. So all this type will it will be coming like this. So to make use of this event, so we need to have to understand how to handle these events. So handling the events, when an event occurs, we can create an event handler, which is a piece of code that will execute to respond to that event. So for example, if you're clicking on a button, it has to perform some action, right? So that action will be writing in some function and or any of the piece of code will be writing and we'll be linking it to that particular event. So that linking of that particular thing, so which is like when an event occurs, we can create an event handler, which is a piece of code that will execute to respond to that event. And an event handler is also known as event listener, and it listens to the event and responds accordingly. So this is how. And an event listener is a function with an explicit name, and if it is reusable or an anonymous function in case it is used one time, and an event can be handled at one or multiple event handlers. But if an event has multiple event handlers, all the event handlers will be executed when the event is tried. So we need to have to take care of while making use of these event handlers, so we don't have to give to the to multiple event handlers. It should be one. Okay, and there are three ways it was defined as a standardized way in while we discussing with the event. So they are like HTML event handler attributes, DOM level 0 event handlers, and D1 level 2 event handler. What are these three? So these are the three ways where we can make use of the events in our program. So we'll see one by one and with the examples and how it will be. So HTML event handler attributes. So your event handlers typically have their names with the begin with on. So to assign an event handler to an event associated with HTML, we use HTML attribute with the name of the event handler. So for example, in my index.html, I'll be using a button. Okay, a button on. So we'll be using button. Okay, and button for that I'll be using on on click. You can see that here. So get data, I'll be using any method. So earlier what we have done, like click me as the text. Okay. And now if I'm using this call and earlier while using the functions, how we have done. Okay, this is all the table. It is there, right? Okay. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm just making use of this entire piece of code. Okay, entire piece of code uh, inside this inside this function get data. Okay, so get data is the method. I'm not calling it over here. If you can see earlier we used to call over here, but here now what I'm doing is I'm just giving on click get data over here. So now I just want to run this program and I'll just show you how it will be running. Now you can see here, and I'm opening my inspect also. There are no errors. Okay, and if you click on it, the table is appearing. If you can see here, so to that is what. If you want to make use of this on click is nothing but on event. How we'll be using it and all. So you can also use this click or on hover. So how it will be on. If you can see, these are all the events we'll be having on drag over, drag, on focus, on key press, key down, mouse over, all these things. If you want that mouse over, okay, I'm just not clicking on it, and I just if I go over it like this, then it will be appearing. Right, right. See how many times it will be creating like this. How many times if you go, it will be creating a new table like that. So that is how, like on mouse over, on click, on all these things, we can have multiple events according to the elements, and we will be making use of those things. So this is the first one, HTML event handler attributes, which is it will be taking care of the event handling inside the element within on click or something, and we can call some method like this, and we can call some function, and we can make use of that function over here like this. So this is normally we'll be using, but there are some disadvantages for this one, which is like the event handler code is mixed with the HTML code, which will make the code more difficult to maintain and extend. And there will be a timing issue, so which is like whenever the page is having the HTML, and there is a huge script code is there, so before loading of the script and all, so HTML will be loaded, and by the time if you are clicking without loading the script, it will lead to an error. It means that the JavaScript code will not load as it is heavy, and the HTML will be loading. It will be very easy, and by loading before script, if you're the HTML will be available, right? So the user, if you click on that button, what it will happen? It will try to call that method, but if the call and the method is not appeared in the script till we clicked on the button, then it will lead to an error. So that issue, the timing issue, is that when we are having the huge length of code in the JavaScript and when we are trying to put some event handlers with the HTML event handler attributes. So that in case, so to avoid that, we'll be having a DOM level 0 event handler so that we can get that event to be triggered in the the page itself, in the script itself. So how it will be used. Now we don't have that on click over here. So only the button will be having some ID. ID will be having some BTN. So this is just a BTN, it will be clicking on it, so without any errors. And what I do is like this is the same function and it will be like this. So if I want to, I'm just confusing it, I'm just making use of some simple method, which is a get data is a method where it will be having. So I'm just putting some console over here, getting data. So I just want to call this. So I have the BTN ID, right? So BTN equals to document dot get element by ID, or you can use a curry selector, whatever it will be. Now I just want to implement btn dot on click. So this click is a pause event and how it will be used. Like it has to be, it should be a function. So which is like is a function, or you can call it as a get data. Okay. So if you want to make use of this button data like this, which is like a btn and btn equals this one, and you can also call this function on click kind of things, which is if you do this, so you can also write like the anonymous function like this, or you can also use like this. So for example, if I do this and if I click on it, it is just giving you the getting data. So the data is there. So just like the function has been called. So don't call this with the parentheses because it will be called automatically. If you can see that the page I am refreshing it, this will be called automatically. So if you want to call that, if you want to call on that particular click, then you have to make use of that, the name it will be there. Or else if you can simply write the function over here, you can make use of an anonymous function to represent this particular data. So which is like if you click on it, it will be getting the data. So like this, we can make use of it. So this is event handler, which is a DOM level 0 event handler. The DOM level assigns an event handler to the element event handler properties in the script. So this is how it will be. And next comes to like DOM level 2 event handler. Level 2 event handlers provide two main methods for dealing with the registering and deregistering the event listeners. So till now we don't have the deregistering process for event handlers, and D1 level 2 brought up that. So when we are making use of an event triggered, and it has to close at some point of time, or else it will have some scoping available for the script when we are running while the event is handled. So somehow like we can call some some recursive functions and some kind of any dependency it is running back. And so for that we need to have to take care, right? So for that, what it will be giving you is to deregister that event listener. So that is very important to remove an event handler after registering. So these methods are available in all DVM nodes, and we can also give these event handlers to all the elements, not only for this only button. So we'll be having input types that will be having on change method, on focus method, and there are lot many. So you can use it wherever it is required according to the usage, and check that what you can use for the elements according to the requirement. Okay, so now we'll be seeing these methods, which is like add event listener method. It will accept three arguments over here, which is like event name, event handler, and a boolean value, which is like if it is true, then it is event capturing, and if it is false, it is event bubbling. But if we don't mention default, it will be taking care of the default values, which is which is true by event capturing, or we need to add specify that. Okay, so that will be like if you can see here, there is an example. So on click demo we don't use, so directly we can make use of uh, this method. So if you can show here, okay, I have I'm using query selector over here. So likewise we can make use of it. Now I'm just commenting this line. So what it will happens is, if you can see, I'm just adding add event listener, and this is the click. So it will not have the on and all. So it directly will be having like this. For example, I'll write over here add event listener. It will be having the click or click change, whatever it will be. It will be like this. It will not having any on kind of thing. So whatever the function you just want to write, so you can write the function anonymous, or you can write the function like this. So this is how it goes to be. Okay. So just in this example, if I click on it, it will be giving you the click on it. But how many times you are clicking, it is just clicking on and on. But once you clicked on it, if you want to remove that listener, then if you can see here, if you click on it, it will click only once. It will not click further. So to control that, we can make use of the remove event listener. It will also take that what how it should be removed, like on click or any other thing we need to have to use, like mouse down, mouse up, all these things. So here also it is just removing the event listener on the click, so which is performing the show. It will be like this. So this is the DVM level 2 where it will be having add event listener and remove event listener. Remove event listener removes an event listener that was load added by the event listener. And as in the event listener, the event name, which is here, the click, okay, and event handler function. We can make use of the function to be called over here, or else you can mention the this one. And the third parameter we can make use of true or false. So if the true, if it is true, then it will be event capturing, or if it is false, it is event publishing. So you can control that event propagation like that. So this is all the events and how we'll be making use. And we can also see some events while using some mouse click and all. So though I'm listing out all those things. So in in our web browser, so these are all the main events where we can make use of it, like page load events, um, mouse events, keyboard events, scroll events, kind of. In page load events, we'll be having D1 content loaded, load, before unload, unload, which is like whenever the content is loaded, we can use some logic over there and we can make use of the logic over there. So, which is like D1 content loaded, which is document object model content loaded. So, and when the in the browser, if the page is loading, that load we can write. So, which is on load. On is the keyword we'll be adding to the um, DYM level 0 event handlers and also in the HTML event handler attributes. But in the event add event listener like DYM level 2 event handlers, DYM level 2 event handlers, just like we have discussed the last thing. This is what the DYM level 2 event handlers. If we have to use, we have to avoid the on keyword. So we don't have the on over here, which is directly click, right? But DVM level 0 will be having on click, and even button is also having on click. This is HTML event handler attribute. This is DVM level 0, and this is add event listener. This is the DVM level 2. So all these three in the same thing. So that is the ring. Here load means in case of two other event handlers, it is on load, but when it comes to DVM level to event handlers, it is just load. Okay. Likewise, we have defer, unload, unload, and all. And for the mouse, we'll be having the click, double click. Double click we'll be using like a DBL click, and mouse down, mouse up, mouse over, mouse out, mouse enter, mouse leave. All these will be coming into the mouse events. And keyboard events, it will be key up, key down, key press, all those. And scroll events are very much important nowadays. Like whenever you scroll on it, whenever you scroll the window, it will be loading more content. So on the scroll, just like Instagram, Facebook, all these things will be like loading on your scroll. The data will be loaded on your scroll. So like that, we'll be using. And in the browser object model, we need to have to check how it will be and what are all the things we need to have to take care with the browser object model. So till now, what we have discussed, all these things will be coming under the document object model. And you can also make use of this input with the data it will be coming. So I'll show you a simple form validation now. and how the form validation it will be. And I will show you in a simple example, uh, which is like this. So this is a form where the form it will be I am using here. So I'm just taking a simple form, but the sign up is at the action dot. I am just avoiding this one also, and I'm not posing it up to anything else. So I'm just simply having the ID, and whatever we have is I have used the bootstrap, so I have not included the bootstrap over here. I try to include the bootstrap from this one, so I'm just trying to include the bootstrap. So I have included the bootstrap, and I'm just maintaining the class goes to container, and yes. Now if you open the page, and if you can see here, it is like this, and I just want to make use of the script. So I'm just copying the script from here. So here I have used some const and all. So const and let are from ES6. So if you are confusing with that, I just replace with var. Okay, and var. Okay, and also we have let. So this is a simple code part, and if you do the subscribe, it will be giving you the enter your name kind of thing. So that also I just we can maintain some classes for that, and I just use the simple classes over here, which is small tag using color. Right. Okay. Now, if you do this, the validation errors will be coming with the um, red color. So just like here, now you try to understand what it is happening out here. I have just used the bootstrap classes all over, but there are the main logic is here. If you can see that there is an input to enter the first name, I mean to enter the name, and there is a small element which is we'll be making use to show the validation error. Likewise, we have the email ID and all, I mean the input box, and there is a validation space. And we have the button type equals to submit, and I haven't given any on click over here. I just want to make use of that add event listener in my script. So coming back to the script, and now you can see here there are a lot of things it will be there. So firstly, I am getting my form from the form document.query selector. If you can see, there is an ID for the form, ID for the form, and that ID I have used it over here. And I'm maintaining some constants to show that error messages. So please enter your name, please enter your email, all these things. And those are the constants I'll be making use of it. As we are targeting only S5, we will be knowing that variables and all. So if we are targeting the ES6, then we will be making use of the constant one. Okay. And next comes to like the form add event listener, whatever the form we have taken, which is like curry selector. In that add event listener, the form will be having a on submit event, which is like once you submit the form, what action to be done. So in this submit, I am writing a simple anonymous function with any event it will be. And if you want to control the default behavior, so there is a event.prevent default. I just disable that and I will show you. Now you can see here the page is here, and if I subscribing it, it is submitting. If you can see the validation errors are coming up and it is going up, and the page is becoming like this. If you can see the notepad over here, it will be like this. See, it is just going with the page and the name and email what the way it will be. So that is the default behavior. You just have to control that behavior. I mean, you have to cancel that behavior by using the event.prevent default. Prevent default is the method how it is using. Now, what I'm doing is like I'm trying to validate my name. If the name is validated by using another method called has value, and email validation, I'm making use with the validate. If both name valid and email valid are appearing true, then I'll be getting this alert, or I'll be using console.log instead of using the alert. Okay, so we can get the data from that and we can put into the table and we can make use of their objects. Objects can be pushed into an arrays and arrays can be pushed to and formatted as a JSON. All this process we can do furtherly. Right. So this was the main logic. So first of all, we need to have to check the values there or not. And nextly, like if the value is there or not, and then validate that email. So for that, I have two other methods, which is like has value. If the has value, it will be taking care of the, if the text is simple blank, then it has to show a message. It will go to the show error. Show error is the one if the based on the input, the message will be typed. So it will give you the show message. So message will be like it will be if it is error, it will be passing a false. And if it is a success, if you can see, it is going to the show message. If it is success, it will go into the true. So in the show message, what is there? It is like if you are having the query selector with the small is nothing but this field we are getting it over there and we are binding that error message to that. So I'm just putting some inner text with the message, and if the I'm just making use of the class name, so just by using input dot class name type equals to success or error, it will be returning the type. So based on that, so I'm just splitting those concerns into simple parts and I'm just making over it. So if the value is there, then it will be showing the success input. It will come to the true and it will give you that success. Or else if it is not there, then it will go to the error and it will go to the show message and it will be like that. Likewise, to validate an email, we need an email regular expression. So it has to check with all the characters of what we are using, and it has to contain some at the rate, dot, and also to verify the validated email. So all this regular expression you will be getting from mini Google, and you can see the regular expression website so that you can get different regular expressions for the validation purpose. So here I'm just evaluating that if the value is there or not, and then we'll be making use of that the email is valid or not. Then we will be pushing into the data. So now if I'm entering something, now I'm subscribing it. This is a valid thing, and now this is not valid. So I'm just using something like this, and I'm just subscribing it. Now you can see here, please enter a correct email address. So it should be having some at the rate, and I think if I am using it now, this is also not valid. Co okay, gh.com. Now, if you can see, the regular expression is valid now, and we can the form is posted. Only that action part we have taken care. We have not taken care of the data to be collected, and we have not pushed it to anything else. And I'm not showing anything else from here. So only the thing is like we need to have to validate the form and how the form will be validated, and you need to have to put that inside. So this is how the simple scenario of making use of it. And now I just want some assignment to be here, which is like you just have to take care of the name and action part, which is in the table. And in the table, like it has to be displayed with whatever the fields you are entering with, and you need to have to show that. Okay. So if you are filling that form, so for example, in this form, it will be having the name and the email, right? Those two things will be listed inside the table. So that is what the thing. So the rest will be seen like it has to validate and it has to put inside an object, and that object has to be pushed whenever we are clicking on the submit. That is what the example you need to have to do. So once you are doing that, so then we are good with it. So we are now pending with only the thing is like BOM part. The BOM part will be discussing with tomorrow, and after discussing with BOM, so their entire session, I think the basic JavaScript will be closing by there itself. Right. So, yeah, if you have any questions, please do let me know so that I'm expecting some workaround from your end. And if you're having any doubts and questions, please do let me know or post to the organizer. We'll discuss furtherly. Okay. So, this is what the agenda it is. And let me know if you have any questions or else feel free to drop off. We'll see you in the next session. No questions, right? Okay. Let's wrap up here and we'll see you in the next session. Thank you.